Hi and welcome. Data classification is a mechanism to sort the data into various distinct classes so that the information security controls can be implemented on each class as per its security requirement. Now, the objective is to protect the data as per its accuracy, sensitivity, and confidentiality so that the right amount of effort, cost, and controls can be implemented on data items. Now it is insufficient to place all the data into same classification level. For example, placing all the data into high classification level will induce a cost for the organization, and it will also restrict the access to even the non-critical data. And if we place all the data into low classification level, then this data will be easily accessible, even the data which is very sensitive. So data should be placed at right or appropriate level of classification level as per its sensitivity and confidentiality and criticality requirement. Now there are certain benefits associated with data classification, and these benefits are for the organization. So by carrying out data classification level, organization shows its commitment as part of their due care and due diligence requirement. Moreover, it also shows its compliance for certain kind of regulations or industry standards. And it also identifies critical assets for the organization, and data classification also helps organization to select right amount of controls, and it also helps organization to manage the life cycle of data, that is since the creation of the data till this data retires or expires. Now data can be grouped into various classes based upon certain parameters or criteria, and these criteria includes the cost of the data or value it provides to the organization, or its usefulness for the organization, or the damage it will cause in case this data item is disclosed or modified or lost or not available. Moreover, the sensitivity of this data or the risk associated with this data, if this data is misused, and its vulnerability to the threats, and the privilege or right it will provide or to the person who will access it, and then the need to know principle associated with this data, and the age and maturity of this data, and the expiry of this data, and its association with any individual, or its impact on the national security, and who can or can't access this data, and its operational and maintenance and monitoring requirement, and the storage requirement of the data. Now these are 7 steps which an organization carries out for classifying the data in the organization. And first step is that the organization defines or assign a custodian or data custodian, and it also defines the responsibilities of all the stakeholders including data custodian. And then the organization selects the evaluation criteria, and this evaluation criteria can be any parameters which I have discussed in just above point, and organization can select all the parameters or a few parameters. Then organization classify or label the data items, and actually the owner classify, or the person who has created this data classify the data, and a supervisor can review the classification done by the owner. Now this labeling actually attached to the data objects manually, or it can be attached once this data item is stored. Then the next step is that you document any exception you have observed while carrying out this data classification, and you integrate and incorporate this exception into the evaluation criteria of second step. Then you select right amount of controls for the data which you have just classified, and then you define the procedures for declassifying and transferring this data to any external party. and this aspect is frequently overlooked. But if you will not do this, then it will waste lot of resources of the organization. Then you run an awareness program in the organization for all the individuals, telling them what all steps you have carried out and why you did what you did. Now, in military and government, we use 5 level of data classification, starting from top secret, then confidential and sensitive and unclassified. And unclassified is least sensitive or least critical, and top secret is most critical, most confidential, and most confidential. And then in commercial or private sector, we use proprietary or public, and sensitive and public. Now, this proprietary and public is the most secure, and this public data is least secure, or it is actually public. So this proprietary data is the data which is important for the organization, and its leakage can cause them the loss to the business and any competitive advantage. And this private data is the data which is confidential also, and it is of same level of classification as proprietary, but this data is related to the individuals. For example, leakage of this data may cause any privacy issues for the organization. So this was all from my side. This is my channel. Please stay connected to my channel for similar videos. Thank you.